Hi, I'm Richard Few, founder and chief geek at Sales Geek. And on this video, I want to answer the question of where did Sales Geek come from? How was Sales Geek born? Well, Sales Geek as a name was actually born about 2 years prior to starting the business when somebody called me it. I submitted my business plan for the year ahead to the CEO of an organization I was working for, and he used those words back to me and said, expletive, Richard, you're a real sales geek. And actually what resonated with me was I absolutely was. I'd spent a lot of my own time, energy and effort educating myself. I was obsessed with the topic and every other topic around it, which had a positive impact on my ability to be a better salesperson and a better sales leader. So I was a proper sales geek. But actually for 2 years, Sales Geek was just a parked domain name with no website, with no presence, and it was just sat there on hold. And then in August 2016, the moment came where I was able to make a connection between that name and a business plan. But the driver behind that business plan and wanting to move on from the role that I was in really come from a place of unhappiness. So strangely, I was 6 months into my dream job. I was the global sales director for a $300 million North American PLC. I was getting paid very handsomely for it. I had stock options that were going to keep vesting over the next few years, and I was traveling around the world. And actually, if you'd have asked a 20-year-old version of me, he would have told you that that was exactly what you were aiming to do when you were 32, which was the age I was when I was in that role. But the truth was, I was really unhappy, I was very miserable, and actually for the first time in my life suffered with a level of anxiety. And that was mainly driven by the fact I just didn't fit into that environment. I didn't fit into that large corporate space. I didn't like how they ran the business. I much preferred my connection that I had with the business owners that I was working in the SMEs that I'd grown up working in. I didn't like the hire and fire culture. I didn't like the fact that you could have a great year and then 3 weeks into the next quarter, you could lose your job, a bit like being a Premiership football manager. And that anxiety for me personally, being a single income family, although I was earning a lot of money, knowing I was only ever 3 months away from not having that income, and we had one source of income at that point as a family, and that created a real level of anxiety in me, which ultimately led to me feeling quite unhappy and miserable. So I was looking for another thing. I'd always wanted to run my own business, and I guess I'd probably on and off in the previous few years been looking for a product or a service or something that I could take and create a business from, but it never appeared. And then one day, a good friend of mine drew my attention to the fact that actually the product or service was right under my nose, and it was me. It was what I'd learned, and it was going and redeploying that back into SMEs. So the original concept for being a part-time or fractional sales director, sales leader came to me, and I realized that actually all across not just the UK, but all across the US and Australia and the rest of the world, there are small business owners every day who start with a passion and a purpose and a genuine reason to go and do something and create some positive change, either for their audience or for themselves and their families, who ultimately fail. The majority of them don't make it through the first year, and even less make it through to year 5. So I started digging into the reasons behind this. And there's 2 things that stood out to me. One was that most small businesses are started by people that are not from a sales or marketing background. They are technicians, they are operators, they are innovators, they are creators of products and services. They're not necessarily the people who have the native skill set to go and take it to market. And then when you pair that up with the fact that the 2 primary reasons for small business failure is a lack of cash and a lack of competency, I genuinely felt that I could help them generate more cash through sales. And if the business owner wasn't from a sales background and I was, that actually by joining them in their business, we were adding competency to that business too. So in March 2017, with a bit of belief, with a genuine ambition to want to go and help small business owners in my local business community, I quit my job and I started Sales Geek. And it was quite a scary time. I had no customers. I had 4.5 months worth of mortgage payments saved up in the bank. I had no website. I had no logo. I had no business cards. I had no mobile phone. I didn't even have a laptop because it was all the stuff I used to get given by the companies that I worked for. I had no ability to invoice people. So I locked myself away in my spare room, built out some of the early assets for Sales Geek, and then stepped foot into my local business community and started talking to people about Sales Geek for the first time and about the value of having a small business owner paired up with a part-time sales director who'd left a highly paid corporate role and was now giving myself back to the small business owners in my local community for the first time. And there's two things that stood out to me. One was, I'm not originally from the part of the UK where we started this business. I knew nobody in business. I was starting from the coldest of starts in my local business community. I knew nobody. But what I realized really quickly was people bought into what we were doing, why we were doing what we were doing. And it was quite obvious that the value of having a sales director in a business was something that they could resonate with. So we got a few months into spending our life savings, but quite quickly we started to find some customers. And by the time I got 6 months in, I was almost fully booked. And certainly by the time I hit the 12-month mark, I had no capacity to take on any more customers. So that was at the point where we started to grow the business, and we built training services on, and we went from 1 geek to 2 geeks to 3 geeks. And then over the next 2 years, until our 3rd birthday, we organically grew this business to be a really healthy local business. It was award-winning. We'd won multiple awards as a new business, as a scale-up business. We were very profitable. We were in a very, very good place. And then COVID hit. But COVID actually gave us a really good opportunity here, because we were so busy, but it gave us an opportunity. It gave us some time back. And it was in that time that we realized that our opportunity was to franchise Sales Geek. And we wanted to franchise Sales Geek for 2 primary reasons. The first one was that our mission is to change the way the world perceives sales. And the key word in there, as I've emphasized, is the word world. Well, we had to create a mechanism where we could do that quickly and at scale. And franchising would allow us to do that at speed. Because we exist in local business communities. Our services, our core services at Sales Geek, exist for the small guy. We have some bigger clients, we have some global blue chip clients for our training services, but the majority of our customers are small businesses in their local business communities. And we have to be on the ground with local people, doing business with local people in those local business communities. We're a community-based business, so we needed people on the ground in regions all across the world. And then the second reason for me was to try and replicate what Sales Geek had given me and giving other trapped and miserable and disenfranchised sales leaders an opportunity to feel fulfilled again, to grow their own business, to escape a place that was maybe making them miserable and redeploy their skills in a way where they can not just be happy in the short term, but actually, and not just own a job, but they could create a business and create real value for themselves and for their families, create jobs in our local business communities, both by employing people and scaling, but also creating jobs by helping other businesses scale. And I genuinely believe in a future where every town and every county in the world has a Sales Geek in it. And because of those Sales Geeks, we're going to create more opportunity, we'll create more prosperous business communities, create more jobs and more wealth in society as a direct result of the things that we do. So here we are, fast forward into 2023, where we have 28 Sales Geeks around the UK and counting. I'm hoping by the time you've watched this, we have a few more. We're launching into the US, and we are so far down the line of creating the foundations of this organization, but so early in our journey of making a Sales Geek available in every county of the world. So come and join us on our mission.